Good evening. I'd like to call the meeting to order. This meeting is being recorded. I would ask if there's anyone else recording this meeting. Seeing none, if you'd please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Welcome, everyone. I don't see any citizens to comment, so we'll move right along to special recognitions. For that, I will turn it over to Dr. Hanfield.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This evening, we'll go a little bit out of order, but this evening we have with us the 20, the 20 new additions to the district, teaching and counseling staff. We have our principals with us on Zoom, and so we will ask them to say hello and introduce their new hires. Mr. Desto cannot get into the meeting and has been locked out, unfortunately, so Dr. Chamberlain will pinch hit for him when it comes time for Auburn Middle School. Right. So with that, I would turn it over to Mr. DeLongchamp. Good evening. Mr. DeLongchamp.
He may have had something better to do.
Beth, can you go to that mic and see if he can hear you.
Well, I heard us before when we did the test.
Mr. DeLongchamp, can you hear us? Can anyone hear us?
Yes.
Okay. No, Mr. DeLongchamp cannot hear us. He's shaking his head.
Well, I can start. I am definitely one of his new hires. I'm Margaret Duffy. I'm the visual art teacher.
Way to be, Margaret.
Hi,
We'll
Margaret.
roll with the flow.
Yay.
Honestly, I don't know if there's anyone else. I know I was the only hire for a new teacher, so I'm not sure if there's any announcers or not.
No, you are the only new hire at Auburn High School for this academic year. So on behalf of Mr. DeLongchamp, welcome. We're very excited to have you with us, and I guess I'll turn it over to Mr. Scobie.
Any comments, questions, welcomes?
Just maybe save the welcome just as a global welcome for the end.
Oh, global welcome? Okay, yeah. Well, no,
Yeah.
I have nothing at this point.
Okay. Just looking at the number of people we have, so in any event, great. And so now we'll go to Auburn Middle School and Dr. Chamberlain.
So nicely done, Margaret. Way to be. I give you a high five for that. So usually Mr. Desto would be here. He would have something amusing and quite cute to say. Only tonight it's me, so it won't be so funny. But I am very, very proud and pleased to announce the staff that will be joining Auburn Middle School this year. For social studies in grade 7, we have Neil Jemian. Reading, English language arts, we'll let you all say hi. Do you want to do one at a time to say hi?
We can do it at the end.
Okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
So reading and English language arts for grade 6, Bethany Peterson. We have a bright clinician social worker, actually a district social worker, Andrew Shore. The bright clinician, Taylor LaForce. And foreign language Spanish, one of our own, Glorimar Colon Nazario.
Thank you for that.
Thank you, Dr. Chamberlain. At this time, Dr. Lopez, I think you can hear us. Yes?
Yes, indeed, I can.
All right, you're up.
So this will be like the Brady Bunch. So if, when I call your name, Ariana Savlik, one of our new special educators.
No, that's great. You just got it.
Caitlin Thunberg, also another special educator. Katie Nowicki, special educator. Kelly Connaughton, new grade 5. Kristen Koziel, grade 3. Keith Goodyear, teacher in the Bright program. Molly O'Connor, our STEM technology teacher. Alex Morrow, music. Jessica Savita, our team chair. And Tracy Sabatka. She couldn't make it this evening, but she wishes wanted to say thank you, and she's very appreciative of being here in Auburn.
Thank
Great.
you.
Thank you, Dr. Lopez. We also would like to introduce Mr. Greg Desto, principal of Auburn Middle School, who just joined us.
had the unusual pleasure of being locked out of Zoom. I didn't know what the heck happened. It said authorized users only, and I'm like, oh, this is not a good sign. So I'm sorry. I apologize for being late, but I don't give up easily. We kept fighting and we made it through. But so we are excited about our new staff this year. I'll begin by introducing Glorimar Colon Nazario, who is moving over from Swanson Road, where she was a math para, and she will be a Spanish teacher, or is now a Spanish teacher at Auburn Middle School. Also, taking over for Tammy Bailey permanently now in grade 7 World Civilizations is Neil Jemian. And Neil was the long-term sub for us all year last year, did a great job, so he's on board now full-time. We have hired Taylor LaForce to be our clinician in the Bright program. She's sort of spearheading the mental health side of the Bright program, off to a great start. Also Bethany Peterson, who's teaching grade 6 literacy. That's a semester course in addition to the ELA course. She's off to a great start as well. And hired another one of my former students from Dudley Middle School, Andrew Shore, as our social worker, and many of our kids already know Andrew from his time at Auburn Youth and Family Services. I think that is all we have here with us tonight. We have some other new people, but I think that they're not new to the district, they're just new to us. I think that's it for tonight.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Desto.
Thank you.
Now we will turn it over to Mrs. Mahan from Bryn Mawr and Mrs. Stanek at Packagug.
Good evening. So nice to see everyone here and to welcome the new staff to Auburn, our great district. Tonight we have 2 new shared staff members between Bryn Mawr and Packagug. So I'd like to introduce Ariella Emanuel. She is our shared school counselor, and Mrs. Stanek.
And I would like to introduce Jenna Bailey, our shared park specialist. And we're very, very excited to have both of them. And they already feel like they've been part of our team for quite some time.
Great, thank you. And then lastly, district-wide speech and language pathologist Elizabeth Jarvis. I don't know if she's on the screen. And district occupational therapist Sarah Murphy. And I don't see her on the screen either, but those are our 20 new folks that are to the district. We are thrilled to have them, as I alluded to at our last meeting. They are bright, they are energetic, and most importantly, they're good for kids. And we're thrilled to bring them to the Auburn team. And proud to introduce them to you tonight.
Excellent, thank you. Any comments from the committee?
Welcome to all of you, but I do have one question. I don't mean to put you on the spot, but Caitlin Thunberg, are you related to our former principal, Don Thunberg, in any way?
Yes, I am. I'm his granddaughter.
Oh, he'd be so proud of you.
Thank you so much.
And you're going to be at the same building that he was the master of for a long time.
That's correct. Thank you.
Awesome. You're most welcome.
Any other comments?
Just through the chair, welcome. And if you need anything, please don't hesitate to reach out to your principals, to us. We just really want to support you, and we'll do anything we can as a committee to support our kids. So let us know. And welcome.
Dr. McCrillis, anything?
Welcome. I can't remember which one's the speech language pathologist, but my son does not get those services, but apparently they were bragging about how great they were in class today, and he was asking when he got to go to speech.
No. All
so
right.
you're doing something right.
All right.
So thank you and welcome.
I would echo some of the same comments from the board as we welcome you to Auburn, and Ms. Kaufman mentioned that we're here to support you. I think for those of you who have been in town for a little while, you understand the way things work here, and we are a fairly welcoming district and school committee. So, we like to consider ourselves one big happy family or team, if you will. So again, we're here to support you, and I know that you're here to support our children. So we thank you for that, and we welcome you for that. And just a side note to Mr. Desto. I kept telling Mr. Hanfield to let you in, and he refused. I think it had something to do with your behavior at one of the last meetings.
I did fire him over
Mr. Scobie.
through the chair. I did fire him over the text message when he told me he couldn't get in. But now I have to reinstate him because he got in. So there's a 15-minute rule to rectify your wrongs. Yeah.
I have your back, Mr. Desto. No worries. Thank you, and thanks for all of you for being here tonight. And again, we welcome you. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Did you have anything, Dr. Hanfield?
No,
before
just no. I just again would like to just say thank you very much for taking time out of your nights to join us. Typically, we would do this in person, and you'd all be here with us, and we'd be maskless, but unfortunately, the conditions don't allow that. So, obviously, you see us, around your buildings. You'll see the committee at some point too. They'll come around and say hello, maybe during the holiday season. So, thank you all very much, and enjoy your night.
Good night. Thanks again. All right. Do we have any further? That is what it looks like. Any further special recognitions, Dr. Hanfield?
No, Mr. Chair, thank you. That's it for this evening.
Okay. Well, I will entertain a motion to accept the minutes from those prior meetings.
I'll make that motion.
Okay. I have a motion to accept the minutes of 6/16/21, 8/17/21, and 9/8/21. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. It is a vote. And now that moment that we've all been waiting for, the
Yes.
student representatives report. It's been way
Yes.
too long.
It has. So I would like to reintroduce Jasmine Gates. Good evening, Jasmine, who is now our senior member of the school committee as a student representative. And I'd also like to introduce Miss Allie McGill, who is the junior representative. And we're thrilled to have them both with us tonight. And I guess, Jasmine, you're the senior member here, so we will let you take it away.
Hi, everybody. It's so nice to see you all. I hope everybody is doing well. I apologize for any of my absences of the previous meetings. I don't know if I was supposed to go or not, but I didn't receive any word on it.
No.
So if I was, I apologize.
No, you're good. You're good. That's
Oh, okay.
no, I'll take that one. That's my fault. You're good.
Oh, okay. I was like, oops. But I'm here now. That's what matters. So far, I think we've had 14 days of school, which I think have gone pretty well for everyone in general. I know that everybody is very excited at the high school to be back in the building. I know it's so different, to have everybody there all at once. Again, it feels like it's been a lifetime, unfortunately, but it's so nice to have everybody back. I know that this is a pretty exciting week as it is homecoming. So we have our homecoming games on Friday and Saturday, and then the marching band had a nice competition at the high school this weekend, and our homecoming dance is going to be on October 2nd outside on our field, so that's definitely exciting. I know a lot of people are super excited to get back to a dance. I mean, it's the first real function we're having as a school in nearly 2 years, so I know everyone is extremely excited for that. As for, I know our seniors, as I am one, it's a pretty stressful time right now. The seniors are starting their college applications, which is exciting and a bit scary. So I know that for early action, that'll be due November 1st. So a lot of our seniors are really buckling down right now. But other than that, I don't have much more to add. I know that we're off to a great start, and we're really looking forward to a great year.
Thank you, Jasmine. Excellent as always.
Of course.
Ms. McGill, would you like to present to us this evening?
Sure.
Welcome.
Thank you for having me. Jasmine did a good job. I think it's been a nice transition back into being fully in person, and the first couple weeks of school have gone really smoothly. Also, in regards to our homecoming this week, we've had spirit days throughout the week. So today was flannel day, and there were some other fun dress-ups throughout the week. The junior and senior classes are co-hosting a movie night tomorrow night. So we're all gonna meet on the softball field as a fundraiser for both of those two classes. And besides that, I don't really think that there's too much else. We'll have all of our games this weekend, and the dance, the fall, and
Excellent. Well, thank you for that, and welcome aboard. So nice having you. Any comments for our student representatives?
Just have fun at all those events that are going to be going on. That sounds great.
All right. Well, I thank you both. Thanks for the report, and we will see you next time. Have a nice evening.
Thank you. You as well.
Bye. Take care.
All right. And now we move on to the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As Jasmine alluded to, today does mark the 14th day of school, and just wanted to provide a COVID update to everybody, just kind of where we are through 14 days. So we've had 27 positives cases in the schools, and they're fairly even. We've had 14 PK to 5, and we've had 13 6 through 12. Of those 27 cases, 2 were previously fully vaccinated, and 1 was a partial vaccination. So 24 of the 27 were unvaccinated cases that were positive. In terms of the overall percentage, I'm sure there's an update coming this Friday, but I think at our last meeting I had said that it was 84% in the 16 to 19 category, and it's still at 55% at the 12 to 15 year-old category. So we'll see what those numbers look like, if they've inched up at all, in our report that usually comes out on Friday. As was noted, I think, although it may have been overshadowed a little bit by MCAS discussion yesterday, the State Board of Education did solicit comment during their meeting relative to what the next steps are going to be in terms of guidance from the state relative to masks. We don't know what that guidance is going to be yet. As the commissioner stated, that it would be something out to us prior to October 1st. So I anticipate that we'll be discussing whatever the guidance is from the state at our October 6th meeting. We don't have really just don't know which one way or the other, where the state's going with that. We also, as we've discussed, and as you maybe have seen through our weekly updates and reminders on Friday, we're still soliciting folks interested that are in the CIC test and stay programs. One of the things that the state is running into a problem with, as is CIC, is having enough practitioners to come out and operate the program within schools. So Dr. Chamberlain and I were talking about it this week, and Dr. Chamberlain has proactively recruited some individuals to essentially be our CIC representatives and do the testing. So we're putting those folks in touch with CIC, because they're employed by CIC, and once we get that going, then we're very hopeful that we can accelerate and get moving on on testing in schools. We've been waiting. We've had our supplies since the very first, I think, week of school, but there's been a lag around the state with just not enough people through the agency to send out to districts, and so now they're asking districts if they have people, to help kind of recruit. So we are out there. Dr. Chamberlain is out there, and we are proactively recruiting. So we're doing all we can to move this along. And I also just want to take an opportunity, that while we're going through this, to thank our families, in the community, for their understanding. This has been, a difficult circumstance for us. I would say that in some respects it's maybe more difficult than it was last year, because we're dealing with COVID but there's a lot of different variables this year, while at the same time we have all of our students, all of our teachers, and we're operating under a set of guidelines that have been given to us by the state. And although we have faced the ire of some folks, as I said, I think at our last meeting, and I'll say again, the vast majority has been terrific and supportive and understanding, and so I really appreciate people's understanding. This is very frustrating for us too on the school side. We feel like we're mired in nothing but COVID, maybe because we are mired in nothing but COVID, while at the same time trying to push forward in educating our kids. So that's where we are on the COVID update. I would say that of the 27, we saw a bit of a bump post Labor Day weekend, which I think, as we know from historically, right, that's not a surprise. This week, I think I've reported out, 2 days this week that we've had 0 cases.
Yeah.
We had 1 yesterday, so we're seeing a little bit of a decline. And that seems to be running the same trend line as the state right now. So we'll just see what happens, and we'll just have to wait and see what the guidance is from the state and go from there.
Dr. Hanfield, if I might ask, do we have any sense of the staff's vaccination rate, or is that something that's going to come later? Or
so Dr. Chamberlain, so we're in the process of ascertaining all of our families who are vaccinated. We did send out a staff vaccination questionnaire as well through the zip slip, and so we're in the process of collecting that, and so we'll have a better handle on exactly what we have, but we're in the process of collecting that. But I think at our last count we were up, over 90%.
I don't know, I haven't done a recent count.
Yeah.
We have a lot of people interested, so
Yeah.
I'll have that count next week.
Yeah. So
Excellent.
we had just sent that out Monday. Did we Monday? Or late last week? Yeah, late last week we sent it out. So,
and I believe they're going to include educators in the 3rd dose along with the senior citizens.
correct.
So that'll be
Yeah.
really good when that happens.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the things that we're seeing with this is just things are continuing to evolve, right? From numbers of doses to, now it looks like there could be a pediatric option, for our kids.
Before Halloween, they're saying.
For Halloween. So there's a lot of information that's going to be coming at us, I think, fast and furious the next month. And we're just going to have to continue to be agile and ask for the community's understanding as we, digest and implement, what we have there. But yeah, we can get that for the October 6th meeting. We'll have a much better sense of what we have.
Excellent.
Through
Thank
the
you.
chair,
But-
so has the state, I know the Delta rates are kind of going up right now, the October 1st deadline to apply, if we're at 80%, are they thinking about pulling that back, or?
So I can tell you late last week we got a 4-question survey. Well, yeah, I guess you call it a survey from the state asking about various things in terms of vaccination rates. What's the posture or current thinking of the district, relative to, the level or percentage of vaccination rate in the district, and if that would, based on where you are now, would that move you to be inclined to think about moving to a differentiated masking policy? So that was sent out just as data points to all 277 districts in the state. And so they collected all of that. They didn't take any comment. They just collected all that data. Mm-hmm. And I believe it was presented yesterday by the commissioner at his Board of Ed meeting. And we haven't heard anything, back from that officially in terms of, what he's thinking or next steps.
Okay, great.
But
Thank you.
more than likely, I mean, if I'm a betting man, I'm expecting that we would see it on Friday, because that's typically when we see it, like Friday afternoonish, right? Usually we get those announcements Friday at like 3:30, 4. So that would be 22, 23, 24. Yeah, that would be about right.
And we don't have the percentage of our actual high school vaccinated yet, because that would probably be the
No,
first
so that's the other piece
still
that
coming.
we sent out with the zip slip information. So we're in the process of gathering what those numbers are. And yeah, Yeah, so the other part, right, so thank you, Dr. Chamberlain. So the other part of that process is coordinating what's already in SNAP or in the nurse's software system. So we have some that's there, we have some that's in ZipSlip, and so we have to combine the two.
Yeah.
We started collecting them and putting them into SNAP prior to the ZipSlip option being available. So we have to kind of take all that data out and then figure out what we have. But, just on the surface, at least from the standpoint of students in town, I think at the high school it's very high. It's certainly much higher than it was, it's almost 10 percentage points higher than it was when we first talked about this August 25th. And it's probably 6 or 7 percentage points higher at the middle school than when we talked about it August 25th. So I expect that number will go up. And here's the other piece is that, so for families, the way that, there's, as you know, there's multiple tiers, right, of close contacts, and then, if you're vaccinated, unvaccinated, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And there's all these different options. We've had we've had about, I wrote it down here. We've had about 29 close contacts, but of those 29 close contacts, many of them were vaccinated, and so they were allowed to stay in the building.
Good.
So, some of the commentary that we received from folks that are unvaccinated was that was spurring some to go and get vaccinated.
Yeah.
So we'll see. We'll see. I think that we'll see that number inch ever northward. But who's vaccinated, the percentages, all of those things, what the state tells us, that will be very informative in the next, couple of weeks in terms of how we move forward.
Great.
Or propose to move forward, I should say.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments? I just have one regarding the test in place, test and stay. I thought that from the beginning it was a great idea, but who did the math on how many individuals it was going to take to do that testing? Because we know, as you said, there's 274 districts. Were they expecting half of the districts to say, no, we don't want to do that test and stay?
It's
we knew we didn't have bus drivers. Why would we think that we could get people to do the testing?
Well, I agree with you, and that's certainly been a topic, a hot topic of conversation among superintendents around the state. When we were discussing this, and as the state was rolling this out to us, they assured us that they had more than what they would need to send people to school districts to do this. And they cited, their success at Gillette Stadium, at Fenway Park, places like that, where CIC's been the main vendor. I don't know where they went, but they're not in any. They're very few, I should say, are in school districts. So, I don't know. So it is kind of put us behind the 8 ball because, had we known this, and maybe to the state, and giving the state the benefit of the doubt, maybe they didn't anticipate, what we're seeing now in terms of the shortage, right? But had we known this much earlier, we would have definitely started going out and getting our own folks and putting them in touch with CIC so we can get this program moving along.
Right.
So we've done that, and it's, again, I thank Dr. Chamberlain for her efforts in securing some folks and putting them in touch with CIC. And so, again, as we continue to plod forward, hopefully that'll be a process that will go quickly, and we'll be able to develop, our protocols here for how we'll do this. But it's frustrating. There's no doubt, and it's just another hurdle put before us. But we'll get over it.
We sure will.
And right. So I mean, the places that have it, the school districts that do have CIC employees, at one point, it was believed that we would have a single person for every school. That hasn't panned out. School districts around us that do have the testing up and going, they have a person in a centralized location, and it's better than nothing, but that's not optimal either.
So you have to transport the students to that location?
Yeah. So that's how some districts.
We got them now.
That's how some districts are. That's how some districts are doing it. That if your child is ill, say at an elementary, or really anywhere, I think they have a school they've designated as kind of the central testing site. I think most districts are picking their school with the most students for obvious reasons. But right, if you're in a neighborhood school or smaller school, then you have to go to that site, get tested, do all of that, and then go back to go back with whatever your results are. So we're doing our best to kind of look at kind of the way schools that have this in place are currently operating, and we're trying to kind of look at, okay, how can we be more efficient in the process? And so we're working through that too. So as much as we appreciate the state's efforts in this, a lot of this seemingly has been back dumped onto school districts. And if school districts don't want to pick up the ball and run with it, then it ends up just, we just end up sitting in this waiting pattern that could go for who knows how long. So,
well, thank you for being on top of that, Dr. Chamberlain. So what is your plan to find these people? You're just going out and grabbing them off of the out of the local Medi centers, or?
Yeah, no.
Okay.
I have 2 committed.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. No. One of them is a nurse that has worked in our district. She's very familiar to us. And then the other individual that we have was referred to us by our nurse leader, Leah Gauthier, and we're going to continue to look for a few more to kind of round out the team and figure out what makes sense. Some people have said, well, what about your existing nursing staff? There's no way. Our existing nursing staff is working. I mean, I told you last year the number of cases that they were investigating. I would tell you that those numbers are just as high, if not higher, this year, because now we've got all the kids together. And you've got the close contact tracing that's now part of the school day. So that's not an option. So we'll figure it out.
Along with their regular workload.
Yes, yes. People think that, people think that it's just they're sitting there with COVID, but we've got students that have different medical conditions that have very specialized medications, need very specialized services through our nurses. So we added nurses last year, and it was probably a prudent move to do so, because I think the workload this year is higher and more demanding. And they're doing a great job, but they can only be stretched so thin. So that's where we are. So we're going to continue to do our best and find people we know that want to participate in this program. And if we really get desperate, then we'll ask the committee to go to the street and pull people if we have to. But that's probably not the preferred option.
I nominate Dr. McCrillis if she has any spare time during the day.
I will say through the chair, Dr. McCrillis has always been fabulous with offering her services when she's had the time. I don't know now that she's back at Quinsig or if she has that type of capability, but I know Dr. Chamberlain would love to speak with her just about some other things.
You're welcome.
So I'm glad I could put that connection together right now, so you're welcome.
Through the chair, I do know other districts, from what I've heard, kids are waiting hours at this point if they're just using CIC without it. So it's good that we're waiting a little bit, even though it's a headache, because from what I hear, children are just sitting there for hours waiting to get tested before they go to class.
And that's a waste. That's why I don't come to school.
Yeah, you're right. And so in that respect, it defeats the purpose, right?
Right.
'Cause, if a child is sitting in school out of class for a number of hours, then what's the point?
Can you give us an idea, just based on our numbers from this week? However many kids we had, I think we had two
this week, sure. Yep.
How many close contacts of just those 2, if you know off the top of your head, would then have qualified for this CIC test in state? I'm just trying to get an idea.
Yeah. So I would say of the 30 or so close contacts we had, I would say 15 of them. I'd say about half. About half of them would qualify, for this testing.
The next 5 days, they need to.
Yeah, so they wouldn't. So right, so like they're not vaccinated, but they're asymptomatic. So if they're testing, 5 days in a row, but so that's. I mean.
Based off 2, so.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So I mean that's so for like the close contacts. Like I said, if you're vaccinated, great. If you're not, especially at the elementary levels. That's really where I think this really becomes really a boon for us, is that we can do that with our youngest ones who aren't vaccinated. So
the numbers would be exponential, so.
Yeah. I mean, I'm optimistic, and I think, and I don't want to speak for Dr. Chamberlain, but I think we're both optimistic that, once we get this up and running, we'll be able to, I mean, like anything else that's new, we haven't been in the, the ready-med business long, but
That's what you call it now.
Yeah. We haven't been in the ready-made business long, but we're going to figure out how to do it.
Okay.
We have business plan. We've got Dr. Chamberlain, who is close to being a PA at this point, and I'm not sure what I am, but we're figuring it out, and we'll get it up and going. But we'll get it done. I mean, it's just frustrating. Like I said, we've had the supplies for almost a month now. And we just, for the longest time, we weren't getting any response. And then we finally, Dr. Chamberlain actually got a live person that she's going to be meeting with tomorrow.
Excellent.
To talk more about this. She's already put the individuals that we've recruited in touch with CIC, and we just have to keep the pressure on them to keep this moving along. So we'll see where it goes, but we're doing the best we can.
Sounds great. Thank you for your efforts.
Yes, thank you.
And we now move on to new business.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Staples, once again, and they did this last year, but I have to really, I'm blown away this year by the donation from Staples. They donated 500 stocked pencil boxes to the school district, and they've been split between Bryn Mawr and Packagug, and there's another 500 coming. Wow. That will probably be dispersed at Swanson Road. So I really want to thank Staples for their donation. Thank you letters have been sent out. And I want to thank Kristen Pappas. Kristen has has a connection there. I'm not quite sure exactly what that is, but I want to thank Kristen too, because Kristen has picked all these up for us in the last 2 years and made the drop-offs and deliveries to the schools. So really thankful for her efforts. And what's cooler than getting a stuffed box, right? A stuffed pencil box. So really appreciate Staples and their generosity to our students, and certainly as we're moving out of COVID, economic realities are still very much there for a lot of families, and so to be able to give something like this to them, free from Staples is just awesome. So we thank them very much for their generosity.
That's great. Thank you. Thank you to Kristen.
Yes. She's done a lot for the town in her position. She really has.
It really has.
Yeah, set up all kinds of things.
Okay. Moving on.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This evening, before you are my goals for the 21-22 school year. And as you know from previous years, these need to be reviewed and approved by the committee. As I said last year, or as you know, I'm participating in the new superintendent's induction program. I've completed year 1, and I'll be finishing my second year this year. So the goal will be to participate in that. You may see Mr. John Brackett, my coach through NISSUP, at another meeting or two along the way. And the evidence that I will be providing the committee later into the spring would be work samples from what I am using in NISSUP and how I'm applying that to our work here in the district, whether it's a SWOT analysis or a root cause analysis or anything like that, but just to give some kind of tangible, some tangibles to the committee to kind of show you how I'm using my work in NISSUP to help, guide the district. And then the second goal, and this is one that I talked about towards the end of last year, and the summertime, unfortunately, was dominated by COVID yet again. So the district improvement goal is for us to start making some headway on our strategic plan. Our last updates to the strategic plan were January of 2020, and understandably, it's been idle since then. So the second goal is a district improvement goal. And it's really taking a look at that with our administrators and the design team members and updating that to the extent that we can. There are 5, as I think I've talked about with you before, there are 5 categories in the strategic plan. Teaching and learning and technology, those are things that we can probably get our hands on. Health, wellness, and safety. But we have other things like transitions and community outreach that might be a little bit more difficult, just because it's difficult to get our kids into places right now with COVID still looming. But nevertheless, we're going to look at that and see where we can move ahead. So I present those to you tonight for your review and approval.
I would entertain a motion to accept.
Make a motion to accept the superintendent's goals for the 2021-2022 school year.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Any discussion?
Look forward to hearing more.
Excellent. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
No, I think those goals are realistic, and I think, as you said, as far as the community outreach piece, if we have to resort to some of the technology that may or may not work in order to reach some of our citizens, as we typically would, through community service or whatever, or even, music programs, that type of thing, some way to entertain some of the elderly, a lot of the things that we've done in the past. If we have to, I'm sure we'll come up with ways to do that.
Yeah, and through the chair, right, and so that, we've had to, now that we're getting our feet under us a little bit with the start of the school year, we're going to have to, we're rethinking how do we engage, the community, can we, for example, I was at the high school today, can we have our high school students reach out, say via Zoom, to maybe the senior center and, have, fireside chats or something, to where we can make those connections. Are there things that we can do, with our little kids? Can they sing a song or something, or do some performances, in music that, maybe could be broadcast over here at the Life, Care Center, and, it's just something that looks different. So, it's trying to match up, all right, how do we take our current plan and how do we kind of make it work in this environment? So that still has to be fleshed out, but from a teaching and learning standpoint and from a technological standpoint, health, wellness, and safety standpoint, I think, we can continue to look at those elements and then see what we can kind of shift around and try to keep making those connections out into the community. I think it's important. I think we all think it's important that we do that, and I think folks around might enjoy that. It's a different way about getting some stuff done. So we're exploring that. We'll be looking at that in more earnest in October as we start talking about budget, because we always line up our budget against our strategic plan and school improvement plans, etc. So, but thank you. I appreciate your support on that.
Sounds great. I'm looking forward to hearing more. All in
Thank you.
favor?
Aye.
Aye. It's a vote. And we now move on to teaching and learning. Dr. Chamberlain?
Thank you, Mr. Scobie. Just tonight I wanted to give you a couple of brief updates as we finally do begin the school year. As you know, we're conducting an equity audit on the district to ensure that all of our students are having an equitable experience with us. And so we had our first meeting with a group of teachers, administrators, guidance, students, parents last week to kind of kick things off. And we tried to talk about a vision for what, if we could have anything we wanted for all the students here in the district, what would it be? And then that was followed by some look at some of our data that they've taken an extensive look at through all the data that we have at DESE, and that's going to continue over our next 3 meetings. So it was a good meeting. It was overwhelming. It was a lot of information, but a lot of really good information, a lot of good conversation. So I think at the end of this, we'll come out with something very powerful to guide us. The next step to this will be the development of some focus groups. So there'll be a student focus group at 9 through 12, one at 6 through 8, a focus group of parents, and a focus group of staff. And they'll conduct 1-hour interviews that then all that data will be recorded and coded so that it can be taken in as some data. That'll be added to what the collaborative committee is also doing. So we're just happy that this has all gotten off and running, and we're talking about something other than COVID, so that was great.
Yeah.
Same thing with Universal Design for Learning. We've begun our training in that as well. So all of the all the principals they'll go to monthly meetings for this to get us up and running with how we incorporate Universal Design for Learning, which talks about representation and choice for kids so that every child can learn and express their learning in a way that makes sense for him or her. It's a very exciting initiative, and I really believe, I said to Dr. Hanfield, I feel like it's going to take us from good to great, because what is there, the opportunities are endless. Each school has also identified 2 UDL coaches, because what we want this to do is to be sustainable. So while the company we're working with will be with us for 3 years, we want this to be a long-term investment to make sure that we stick with it and it sticks with us. So that was another great opportunity, and those coaches will also be afforded a graduate class through the training for free related to UDL, so that's another benefit to some of our staff who have been selected in that. We've had some CPR recertification, not only for our coaches, but we have a bunch of folks going through it next week and hoping to offer some full courses in the near future, and looking forward to October 12th when we really dig into a full day of UDL for all staff. So we are doing some things other than, and I will tell you, being in classrooms, seeing kids back, I mean, if you took the masks off, it would look like it always looked. And the kids are excited about it. I've been through every school in the district a couple of times, and all I can hear from teachers is they're so happy to have the kids back. The kids are so happy to be back. But everybody has really dug into the work related to not only academics, but just supporting each other as we transition, right, back into school. So it's just been a great start. So thank you.
Great. Thank you. And we move on now to a fan favorite, business and financial.
A money report.
Thank you and good evening, everyone. In your packet, I provided a copy of the FY23 budget timeline that we've put together. We've provided it for your review and approval. And also during this time when we're looking at the budget development, we look to you for guidance on some of the priorities that you want to set. In previous years, we've looked at student safety, student achievement, class sizes, technology, textbooks, the educator evaluation, professional development, and strategic plan implementation. And we feel that those are some good things to continue to look forward to as we develop this year's budget. But I'd look for your acceptance of the timeline, and also if there's anything else you'd like to add as far as things that we should pursue when building the budget.
I would entertain that motion.
Make a motion to approve the FY23 budget timeline as presented by the superintendent and business manager, with recommendations that the leadership team seek to address the following priorities as discussed.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Any discussion on that?
Sounds good.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. It is a vote. Thank you.
Thank you. And then I've provided in your packet a year-to-date budget report dated September 14th. And along with that budget report, I have a list of budget transfers, some within the same series for your information, and some that are between different series that will require your approval. There's several transfers up there, as you'll see, but they're there basically because we're trying to adjust from our budget last year when we set the budget at town meeting. We had some negotiated salaries and stuff, so we're making our adjustments and getting the salaries in line with what they should be for this year. So
I would entertain that motion.
I'll make the motion to approve the budget transfers between the different series dated September 14, 2021, as presented by the business manager.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Looks good.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. It is a vote.
thank you very much. And my last topic would be bus transportation update. I'm very happy to report that we've been off to a great start with busing this year. I'm very happy about it. We've been monitoring the arrivals and the departures from schools for every morning and afternoon for the last couple weeks. The buses are coming in a timely manner. The children are getting to school on time, and things seem to be running smoothly. So we've also monitored the numbers on buses,
And for 2 weeks, we did that, and every day, and checking numbers, and the numbers have come in well within capacity of the buses that, we're allowed to have on the buses. So that's been going really well. In the afternoons, our buses have been coming in pretty smoothly. A few little things here and there, but with a student that he didn't get off at the right stop, or some a parent maybe not being there. But overall, it's been a great experience. So we've been very, very happy with that. So the only glitch I would say that we've had is on the elementary levels. They've had a little bit, some of the elementary students will come on the bus with their masks on and then decide to take them off. And so we've had to approach that. The bus company has been really great. The drivers are keeping track of that. They notify us right away if there's specific students, or if a bus, if they're noticing kids not wearing masks. The principals have been addressing that with the students, and so everything's been going very smoothly. So, do you have any questions or
Any comments or questions?
Okay.
Seeing none, thank you for that report.
All right, thank you very much.
Is that all for this evening, Dr. Hanfield?
It is. Through the chair, just quickly, I would like to thank AA Transportation. They are our bus company. They have had to make a lot of adjustments and do a lot of things on their end from ensuring that they have proper drivers, trained drivers, busing, they're just everything. There's a lot that goes into the transportation side of things. And as much as it can be frustrating sometimes when, a stop is missed or whatever, I have to tell you that based on the busing situations around the state, we are extremely lucky to have the bus company, AA, that we have. They're always responsive. They're a pleasure to work with, and just very happy with them. They're very responsive. Anytime we have an issue, very accommodating with our families. So I just would like to publicly thank them and let them know that we appreciate their efforts on behalf of our kids, because without them, our kids aren't going to school.
Right.
Yeah.
Sure.
I just also wanted to let you know, I know at the last meeting we talked about that we were starting a waiting list for bus students for people to get on the bus that had registered late. To this date, we've been able to get all of those people that were on the list on the buses, and we're still at good capacity. So, but I just wanted to let you know we were able to get students on. There's no more waiting list.
Awesome.
Perfect. Thank you. I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. This vote.